Picture this. You're worth millions. You have everything money can buy. But you're eating dinner alone every single night in a penthouse that feels more like a museum than a home. That's Avery Dalton's reality, until one freezing Seattle evening changes everything. Sometimes the person who saves you is the one who needs saving the most. Before we dive into this incredible love story, hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and let me know in the comments what city you're watching from. Your support means the world to me. The rain was coming down hard that Tuesday night, and I was walking past the little cafe on Pine Street when I saw her. I almost didn't see her at first. The rain was hammering Seattle like it had a personal vendetta, and I was rushing from my car to the cafe, designer heels clicking against wet pavement. Just another late night, another lonely dinner picked up on the way to my empty penthouse. That's when I spotted her. Huddled in the doorway of the closed bookstore next door, knees pulled to her chest, shivering so hard I could see it from 10 feet away, dark hair plastered to her face, clothes that had seen better days, but something about her posture. She wasn't begging. She wasn't asking for anything. She was just trying to disappear. My heart did this weird little flip. I stopped walking. Rain soaked through my $1,000 coat, but I couldn't move. She looked up then, probably wondering why some crazy woman was staring at her, and our eyes met. God, those eyes. Green like sea glass, but tired. So incredibly tired. And proud. Even sitting there with nothing, she held her chin up like she owned the world. "You okay?" I heard myself ask. Stupid question, Avery. Obviously, she's not okay. She blinked, surprised. "I'm fine." Her voice was softer than I expected, with this slight rasp that made my stomach do flips. She was lying, of course. Her lips were practically blue. "When's the last time you ate?" I asked, stepping closer. She tensed up. "I don't need charity. Good thing I'm not offering charity." I surprised myself with how steady my voice sounded. "I'm offering dinner. There's a difference." She studied my face like she was trying to solve a puzzle. I felt exposed under that gaze, like she could see right through all my expensive armor to the lonely woman underneath. "Why?" she asked finally. Honest answer? I had no idea. I'd walked past homeless people 1,000 times in this city. I donated to charities, wrote checks, did my civic duty from a safe distance. But something about her made me want to step closer instead of further away. "Because you look like you could use a friend," I said, and honestly, so could I. The rain kept falling. She kept shivering. I kept standing there like an idiot, getting soaked. "I'm Avery," I said, extending my hand. She looked at it for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached out and shook it. Her fingers were ice cold, but her grip was firm. "Harper." "Nice to meet you, Harper." I meant it. "Now can we please get out of this rain before we both catch pneumonia?" She hesitated. I could see the internal war playing out across her face. Pride versus need, fear versus hope. "Just dinner," I said gently. No strings attached. Something shifted in her expression. The walls didn't come down completely, but they cracked just enough. "Okay," she whispered. We walked into the cafe together, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't walking through life completely alone anymore. The warmth hit us immediately. Harper's whole body seemed to sag with relief, and I realized she'd been holding herself rigid against the cold for who knows how long. "Order whatever you want," I told her as we approached the counter. She stared at the menu like it was written in a foreign language. I don't know what's good. Everything's good here. Trust me." The barista, a kid with purple hair and kind eyes, smiled at us. "What can I get you ladies?" "2 of the turkey and brie sandwiches," I said. "2 hot chocolates. And..." I glanced at Harper, who was still studying the pastry case like her life depended on it. 2 of those chocolate croissants." Harper's eyes went wide. "That's too much." "It's perfect," I said firmly. We found a table in the corner, away from the few other customers. Harper sat across from me, and I got my first real look at her in proper light. She was beautiful. Not magazine beautiful, real beautiful. The kind that comes from having lived through things, survived things. There were shadows under her eyes and a small scar above her left eyebrow. But when she smiled tentatively at the barista who brought our food, it was like watching the sun come out. "So," I said, wrapping my hands around my mug, "how long have you been in Seattle?" "About 6 months." She took a careful sip of her hot chocolate, and I watched her whole face soften. "You?" "Born and raised. Well, raised here. Born in a boardroom, according to my mother." That got a small smile. "Progress." "What do you do?" she asked. "I run a tech company, Dalton Industries. We develop software for—" I stopped. She was looking at me with this expression I couldn't read. "Sorry, I'm probably boring you." "No, it's not that." She shook her head. "It's just, you're really successful, aren't you?" "Depends how you define success. Money, power, people knowing your name. Then yeah, I guess I am." I took a bite of my sandwich, chewing thoughtfully. "But if you define success as being happy, having people who care about you, feeling like your life has meaning beyond quarterly reports," I shrugged. "Then I'm probably the biggest failure you'll ever meet." She stared at me. "You're not what I expected. What did you expect?" "Someone colder. More untouchable." I laughed, but it came out bitter. "Trust me, I'm very touchable. I'm just usually too busy touching spreadsheets and keyboards to notice." We ate in comfortable silence for a while. I watched her savor every bite, and it made my chest tight. When was the last time I'd actually tasted my food instead of just consuming it as fuel? "Can I ask you something?" I said finally. She nodded. "What happened? I mean, you don't have to tell me, but—" Her jaw tightened. "Life happened. Bad choices. Worse luck." She met my eyes. "But I'm not a victim, if that's what you're thinking. I'm just between places right now." "I wasn't thinking that at all." "Good." She finished her sandwich and leaned back. "Can I ask you something?" "Shoot." "Why are you really doing this? And don't say it's because I look like I needed a friend. Rich people don't usually notice people like me, let alone buy us dinner." I considered lying, giving her some polite, socially acceptable answer. But those green eyes demanded honesty. "Because," I said slowly, "in the 34 years I've been alive, I've never felt as seen as I did in the 30 seconds you looked at me in that doorway." Her breath caught. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you looked at me like I was a person, not a bank account or a business opportunity or a networking contact. Just a person." I played with my napkin, suddenly nervous. "Do you know how rare that is?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Yeah, actually, I do." The cafe was starting to empty out. The barista was wiping down tables, giving us polite but pointed looks. "We should probably go," Harper said, starting to stand. Panic fluttered in my chest. "Where will you sleep tonight?" She shrugged. "I'll figure something out. I always do. It's supposed to drop below freezing. I'll be fine." But I could see the fear in her eyes, quickly hidden but there nonetheless. The thought of her back out in that cold made me feel physically sick. "Come home with me," I blurted out. She froze. "What?" "I have a guest room. It's warm, it's safe, and—" I took a breath. "And I really don't want to go back to that empty apartment alone. I can't." "Why not?" "Because I don't know you. Because this is crazy. Because people like you don't invite people like me into their homes." "Maybe that's the problem," I said quietly. She stared at me for what felt like forever. I could see her weighing options, calculating risks, fighting with herself. "One night," she said finally. "One night." I agreed. But as we walked out into the rain together, I had a feeling one night wasn't going to be nearly enough. The elevator ride to my penthouse was the longest 2 minutes of my life. Harper stood in the corner, arms wrapped around herself, leaving a small puddle of rainwater on my pristine marble floor. She kept glancing around like she was memorizing escape routes, and I couldn't blame her. Taking a stranger home was insane. But leaving her out in that cold felt even more insane. "This is me," I said, as the doors opened directly into my apartment. Her eyes went wide. "Holy shit." I couldn't help but smile. "Not what you expected?" "I expected nice. I didn't expect—" She stepped out slowly, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay, the minimalist furniture that cost more than most people's cars, the art that I'd bought because my decorator said it was important, but never really looked at. I didn't expect a museum. That stung, because it was true. "It's not usually this quiet," I lied. She gave me a look that said she saw right through me. "When's the last time you had people over?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "My housewarming party, 3 years ago." Jesus, Avery. The way she said my name, soft and a little sad, made my chest tight. I busied myself hanging up our coats, trying to ignore how small and lost she looked in my cavernous living room. "Are you hungry? I could order something, or I just ate, remember?" She was still standing in the exact same spot, like she was afraid to touch anything. Right. Of course, I felt like an idiot. Would you like to take a shower? Get warm?" Her whole face changed. "Could I?" "Of course. The guest bathroom has everything you need. Towels, soap, shampoo." I paused. "I might have some clothes that would fit you. We're about the same size." I couldn't. "Harper." I stepped closer, and she didn't back away. "When's the last time you had a hot shower?" She looked down. "A while." "Then please, let me do this one thing." She nodded, not trusting her voice. I led her down the hallway to the guest suite, flipping on lights as we went. The bathroom was all marble and gold fixtures, with a rainfall shower that could fit 4 people. Harper stood in the doorway like she was afraid to enter. "The water pressure's really good," I said, demonstrating the controls. "And there's a heated towel rack, so—" I trailed off because she was crying. Not sobbing, just silent tears streaming down her face. "Hey," I said softly. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "It's just, I forgot what kindness felt like." My heart broke a little. "Harper, I'm okay, really." She managed a watery smile. "I just need a minute." I wanted to hug her. The urge was so strong it surprised me. I wasn't a hugger. I was a handshake and business card kind of person. But something about Harper made me want to wrap her up and keep her safe from whatever had put that bone-deep sadness in her eyes. "I'll get you some clothes," I said instead. I went to my bedroom and stood in front of my walk-in closet, feeling ridiculous. Everything I owned was either business attire or expensive workout gear. Finally, I grabbed a soft cashmere sweater and a pair of yoga pants, plus underwear that still had tags on it. When I knocked on the bathroom door, I could hear the shower running. "I'm leaving clothes outside the door," I called. "Thank you," came her muffled reply. I went to the kitchen and made tea, mostly because I needed something to do with my hands. The apartment felt different with Harper in it. Less like a showroom, more like a home. 20 minutes later, she emerged looking like a completely different person. The hot water had brought color back to her cheeks, and her dark hair fell in damp waves around her shoulders. My clothes fit her perfectly, and seeing her in my sweater did something weird to my stomach. "Better?" I asked. "So much better." She looked around the living room again, but this time with curiosity instead of fear. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Do you actually live here, or do you just sleep here?" I handed her a mug of tea. "What do you mean?" "I mean, there are no personal photos, no books lying around, no coffee rings on the tables or shoes kicked off by the door. It's beautiful, but it doesn't look lived in." She was right, of course. I'd hired a decorator to make it look like a home, but I'd never actually made it feel like one. "I work a lot," I said lamely. "What do you do when you're not working?" I realized I didn't have an answer. "I don't know. Work some more, I guess." She sat down on my couch, curling her legs under her. "That's the saddest thing I've ever heard." "Thanks," I said dryly, but I was smiling. "I'm serious. When's the last time you did something just because it made you happy?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. I can't remember. Jesus, Avery. No wonder you invited a stranger home. You're lonelier than I am, and I've been living on the streets for 6 months. The truth of it hit me like a punch to the gut. She was right. I was surrounded by people all day. Employees, clients, board members. But I couldn't remember the last time I'd had a real conversation with any of them. The last time someone had asked me how I was feeling instead of what I was thinking. "How did you end up on the streets?" I asked, deflecting. Her face closed off slightly. "Long story. I've got time." She studied my face, weighing something. Then she sighed. "My mom died when I was 16. Cancer. I went into foster care, aged out at 18 with nowhere to go. Worked my way through community college, got a job at a nonprofit helping homeless youth." She smiled bitterly. "Ironic, right? What happened?" "Budget cuts. Lost my job, couldn't make rent, got evicted, spent my savings trying to stay afloat," but she shrugged. "Turns out the safety net has some pretty big holes in it. I'm sorry." "Don't be. I'm not looking for pity." "I'm not offering pity. I'm offering empathy. There's a difference." She looked surprised. "You really mean that?" "I really do." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, drinking our tea and watching the city lights twinkle below. It was the most peaceful I'd felt in months. "Can I tell you something?" Harper said eventually. "Of course." "This is the first time in 6 months I've felt safe." My chest tightened. "Harper, I don't mean physically safe, though that too. I mean emotionally safe. Like I can just be myself without having to constantly watch my back or figure out where my next meal is coming from, or worry about someone trying to hurt me. Has someone tried to hurt you?" Her jaw tightened. "The streets aren't kind to women alone." Rage flared in my chest, hot and protective. "Did someone—" "I'm okay," she said quickly. "I learned to be careful, to stay invisible. But it's exhausting, you know, always being on guard." I wanted to promise her she'd never have to be on guard again. The intensity of that desire scared me. "You're safe here," I said instead. "I know." She smiled, and it was the first real smile I'd seen from her. It transformed her entire face, made her look younger and lighter. "Thank you. For dinner, for the shower, for—" She gestured around the apartment, "for seeing me. Thank you for letting me." She yawned then, trying to hide it behind her hand. "You should get some sleep," I said. "The guest room is all set up." "Avery," she said as I stood to show her the way. "Yeah? Why do I feel like I've known you longer than a few hours?" I looked at her sitting on my couch in my clothes, hair still damp from my shower, and felt that same inexplicable connection I'd felt in the doorway of the cafe. "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I feel it too." She nodded like that made perfect sense, and maybe it did. Maybe some connections transcended logic. I showed her to the guest room, made sure she had everything she needed, and said goodnight. But as I lay in my own bed an hour later, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't stop thinking about her smile. For the first time in years, my apartment didn't feel empty, and that terrified me almost as much as it thrilled me. I woke up to the smell of coffee. For a moment, I lay there confused. I didn't drink coffee in the morning, just green tea and whatever protein shake my nutritionist recommended. But the smell was definitely coming from my kitchen. Then I remembered. Harper. I found her standing at my kitchen island, wearing the same clothes from last night, hair pulled back in a messy bun. She'd found my coffee maker and somehow figured out how to use it, which was more than I'd managed in the 3 years I'd owned it. "Morning," she said, looking up from the mug she was cradling. "I hope you don't mind. I couldn't find any tea." "I don't drink coffee," I said, then immediately felt stupid. "I mean, I have it for guests, but I never actually—" "You never have guests," she finished with a small smile. "Right." She poured me a cup anyway. "Try it. I make good coffee." I took a sip and nearly groaned with pleasure. It was perfect. Strong, but not bitter, with just a hint of sweetness. "How did you—" "I worked at a coffee shop for 2 years. You learn things." She leaned against the counter, studying my face. "You look surprised." "I am. This is amazing." "It's just coffee, Avery," but it wasn't just coffee. It was the first time in years someone had made something for me without being paid to do it. The first time my kitchen had been used for something other than reheating takeout. "Did you sleep okay?" I asked. "Like the dead. That bed is incredible." She paused. I kept waiting to wake up and realize this was all a dream. It's not a dream. I know. That's what's so surreal about it. I looked at her standing in my kitchen, morning light streaming through the windows and catching the gold highlights in her dark hair, and felt something shift in my chest, something warm and terrifying and completely unfamiliar. "What's your plan for today?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Her face shuddered slightly. "Find somewhere to go, I guess. Figure out my next move. You don't have to leave." The words were out before I could stop them. Harper's eyes went wide. "Avery, I mean, not permanently. Just, you don't have to rush out. It's Saturday. I don't have anywhere to be." That was a lie. I always had somewhere to be. My Saturdays were usually packed with work calls and gym sessions and whatever social obligations my assistant deemed necessary for my image. But looking at Harper, I couldn't remember why any of that mattered. "What do you usually do on Saturdays?" she asked. "Work." "Of course you do." She shook her head. "When's the last time you took a day off? A real day off?" I thought about it. I took Christmas off last year. 1 day in 12 months. I took New Year's too. Jesus Christ, Avery, you're going to burn out. "I'm fine." "Are you?" She set down her coffee and really looked at me. "When's the last time you laughed? Really laughed, not just polite business laughter?" I opened my mouth to answer and realized I couldn't. "When's the last time you did something spontaneous? Something that wasn't scheduled or planned or optimized for maximum efficiency?" "I invited you home last night," I said defensively. "Exactly. And how did that feel?" I thought about it. Terrifying. And I paused, searching for the right word. Alive. It felt alive. She smiled. "See? You're not fine. You're surviving, but you're not living. And you are?" "No," she said honestly. "I'm surviving too. But at least I know the difference." We stood there looking at each other across my pristine kitchen, and I felt like she could see straight through to all the empty places inside me. "Tell me about your life before," I said. "Before everything went wrong." She was quiet for a moment, then moved to the window overlooking the bay. "I was happy. Really happy. I had this tiny apartment in Capitol Hill, nothing fancy, but it was mine. I loved my job, even though it didn't pay much. I was helping kids who'd been through what I'd been through, making a difference. You miss it. Every day." She turned back to me. "But I also learned something about myself these past 6 months." "What's that?" "I'm stronger than I thought. I survived things I never imagined I could survive. I learned to ask for help when I needed it, and to help others when I could. I learned that kindness exists in the most unexpected places." She looked at me meaningfully, and I learned that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads you exactly where you need to be. "You think ending up homeless led you where you needed to be?" "I think it led me to you." The words hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. My heart was beating so fast I was sure she could hear it. "Harper, I know it sounds crazy. I know we just met, but I feel something with you that I've never felt before." "What do you feel?" "Safe. Seen. Like I matter." She stepped closer. "Like maybe I'm not as broken as I thought." "You're not broken at all. Neither are you." But I was broken. I'd been broken for so long I'd forgotten what whole felt like. Until last night, when a stranger with sea glass eyes had looked at me like I was worth saving. "I should probably go," Harper said. But she didn't move. "Stay. Avery. Just for today. Let me show you Seattle. The real Seattle, not the tourist stuff. I've been living here for 6 months. I think I know Seattle." "You know survival Seattle. I want to show you fun Seattle." She laughed, and the sound made my chest warm. "You want to show me fun? You who works 7 days a week and hasn't taken a real day off in a year?" "Maybe it's time I learned." She studied my face for a long moment. "Okay, but I have conditions." "Name them." "No work calls, no checking emails, no talking about quarterly reports or board meetings or whatever it is you do all day." "Deal." "And we split everything 50-50. I'm not your charity case." "Harper, you don't have any money. I have some. Not much, but some. And I have pride." I could see how important this was to her. "Okay, 50-50, good." She grinned, and I felt like I'd won the lottery. So, where are we going first? I realized I had no idea. I knew all the expensive restaurants and exclusive clubs, but I didn't know fun. I didn't know spontaneous. I felt my cheeks heat. I don't actually know where to go. Oh my God, you really don't know how to have fun, do you? I'm learning. She laughed again, and I decided it was my new favorite sound. Okay, here's what we're going to do, she said, moving closer. We're going to walk out that door with no plan whatsoever. We're going to wander around the city and do whatever strikes our fancy. We're going to eat street food and people watch and maybe ride the ferry just because. We're going to be tourists in your own city. That sounds terrifying. Good. The best things usually are. An hour later, we were walking through Pike Place Market, and I was seeing it with completely new eyes. Harper moved through the crowds like she belonged there, stopping to chat with vendors, laughing at the fish-throwing guys, sampling everything they'd let her try. You're different here, I observed as we shared a bag of mini donuts. Different how? Lighter. More yourself. This is who I am when I'm not worried about survival. She licked powdered sugar off her fingers and I tried not to stare. This is who I was before. I like this version of you. I like this version of you too. What do you mean? You're smiling, really smiling. And you haven't checked your phone once. I realized she was right. For the first time in years, I was completely present, not thinking about work or obligations or what I should be doing instead. How do you do that? I asked. Do what? Make everything feel possible. She stopped walking and turned to face me. People flowed around us like we were stones in a river. Because with you, everything does feel possible, she said quietly. And standing there in the middle of Pike Place Market, surrounded by the chaos of Saturday shoppers and street musicians, I felt something I hadn't felt since I was a child. Hope. By evening, we'd walked half of Seattle. We'd ridden the ferry to Bainbridge Island and back, eaten fish and chips on the waterfront, browsed through used bookstores in Capitol Hill, and spent an hour in a tiny record shop where Harper introduced me to bands I'd never heard of but immediately loved. Now we were sitting on a bench in Myrtle Edwards Park, watching the sunset paint Elliott Bay in shades of gold and pink. Harper had her legs tucked under her, and I was trying not to notice how the dying light made her skin glow. I can't remember the last time I watched a sunset, I said. Really? Really. I'm usually in the office until after dark. That's criminal. She turned to look at me. You live in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and you never see it. I see it from my office window. That doesn't count. You have to be in it, not just looking at it. A jogger passed by, followed by a couple walking their dog. Normal people doing normal things. When was the last time I'd felt normal? Can I ask you something? Harper said. Always. Why did you really invite me home last night? And don't say it was because I looked cold or hungry. There are homeless people all over this city. You've walked past them before. I'd been dreading this question all day. Mostly because I didn't have a good answer, or rather, I had an answer that scared me. I don't know, I said finally. Bullshit. I looked at her, surprised by the edge in her voice. You're one of the most decisive people I've ever met, she continued. You don't do anything without a reason. So what was it? I stared out at the water, trying to find words for something I barely understood myself. You looked at me, I said quietly. What do you mean? In that doorway, when our eyes met, you looked at me like you saw me, not my clothes or my car or my bank account. Just me. I turned to face her. Do you know how long it's been since someone looked at me like that? How long? I honestly can't remember. Maybe never. She was quiet for a moment. Is that why you work so much? So you don't have to think about how lonely you are? The question hit like a physical blow. Jesus, Harper. Am I wrong? No, I admitted. You're not wrong. So what happens now? What do you mean? I mean, tomorrow's Sunday. Monday you go back to work. Back to your real life. And She shrugged. I figure out where to go next. The thought of her leaving made my chest tight with panic. You don't have to go. Avery. I'm serious. Stay. As long as you want. Why? Because I don't want to go back to eating dinner alone. Because I don't want to go back to working 16-hour days just to avoid going home to an empty apartment. Because... I took a breath. Because for the first time in my adult life, I feel like I'm actually living instead of just existing. She stared at me. You can't mean that. I've never meant anything more. You barely know me. I know you make incredible coffee. I know you see beauty in things I've been blind to my whole life. I know you're stronger than anyone I've ever met. And kinder than I deserve. I reached for her hand without thinking. I know that 24 hours ago I was sleepwalking through my life, and now I feel awake. Her fingers were warm in mine. Avery, this is crazy. Maybe. But crazy feels better than numb. She pulled her hand away, and I immediately missed the contact. You don't understand, she said, standing up abruptly. I'm not some project you can fix. I'm not a stray cat you can feed and everything will be okay. I never said you were, didn't you? She started pacing in front of the bench. Rich woman saves poor homeless girl, gives her a place to stay, some nice clothes, shows her a good time. What happens when the novelty wears off, Avery? What happens when you remember that we're from completely different worlds? That's not what this is, isn't it? She stopped pacing and looked at me. What do you think your friends would say if they met me? Your colleagues? Your board of directors? I don't care what they think. You will. Eventually you'll care. And then what? You'll realize this was all a mistake, a moment of temporary insanity, and I'll be right back where I started. Except now I'll know what I'm missing. The pain in her voice broke my heart. Harper, that's not going to happen. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Her voice cracked. Because I've been here before, okay? I've been the charity case, the project, the good deed that makes people feel better about themselves, and it always ends the same way. This is different. How? How is this different? I stood up, closing the distance between us. Because I'm not trying to save you, you're saving me. She went very still. What? You think you're the broken one? Harper, I'm 34 years old and I've never been in love. I've never had a real friend. I've never done anything that wasn't calculated to advance my career or increase my net worth. I'm successful by every metric that matters in my world, and I'm absolutely miserable. Tears were starting in her eyes. Avery, you want to know why I invited you home? Because for the first time in my life, I met someone who made me want to be better. Not more successful, not richer, not more powerful. Just better. More human. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I reached for her hands again, and this time she didn't pull away. I'm saying that yesterday I was a ghost haunting my own life. Today I feel real. That's not charity, Harper. That's a miracle. She was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. I'm scared. Of what? Of believing you. Of letting myself hope that this could be real. She looked down at our joined hands. Of falling for someone who lives in a different universe than I do. What if we created our own universe? She looked up at me. What does that even mean? I don't know yet. But I want to find out. With you. We stood there as the last light faded from the sky, holding hands like teenagers, both of us terrified and hopeful in equal measure. I need time to think, she said finally. Okay. And I need you to be sure, really sure. Because if you change your mind, I won't. You might. Harper. I squeezed her hands. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. She studied my face in the growing darkness. What are you asking me? I'm asking you to take a chance on us. On whatever this is. And if it doesn't work, then at least we'll know we tried. She was quiet for so long I thought she might say no. Then, so softly I almost missed it. Okay. Okay, let's try. She smiled through her tears. But I have conditions. Name them. I'm not going to be your kept woman. I need to find work. Contribute something. Done. And we take this slow. I know we're both feeling whatever this is, but I need time to trust it, as slow as you want. And if either of us wants out, we're honest about it. No ghosting, no making excuses. We talk. Deal. She nodded, like she was sealing a contract with herself. Okay then. We walked back to my car in comfortable silence, but I could feel the shift between us. Something had changed in that conversation. Something had been decided. As I drove us home, and wasn't that a thought, us having a home, I caught Harper looking at me. What? I asked. Nothing. Just, I think this might be the craziest thing I've ever done. Good crazy or bad crazy, ask me in a month. But she was still smiling, and for the first time since this whole thing started, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, we could make this work. 3 weeks later, Harper was still sleeping in the guest room, and I was losing my mind. Not because she was there. God, no. Having her there was the best part of every day. She'd wake up before me and make that incredible coffee, and I'd find her in the kitchen reading news on her phone or sketching in a notebook she'd bought with her first paycheck from the temp agency. No, I was losing my mind because every day I fell a little more in love with her, and I had no idea if she felt the same way. She'd found work within a week, data entry at a nonprofit downtown. It wasn't much, but she was proud of it, insisted on paying me rent even though I told her it was ridiculous. She'd also slowly started making my apartment feel like a home, fresh flowers on the kitchen island, books scattered on the coffee table, her jacket thrown over the back of a chair. Little signs that someone actually lived there, but she still kept her distance, still treated me like a generous friend rather than whatever I wanted us to be. Tonight was different, though. I could feel it the moment I walked through the door. Harper was sitting on the couch, still in her work clothes, but something about her posture was off. Tense, like she was bracing for impact. Hey, I said, setting down my briefcase. How was your day? Fine. She didn't look at me. How was yours? Long, boring, the usual. I moved closer, studying her face. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Harper. She finally looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes that made my stomach drop. Fear. And something else. Something that looked like goodbye. I got a call today, she said quietly. Okay. From my old boss, at the nonprofit where I used to work. She took a shaky breath. They got a new grant. They want me back. I felt like I'd been punched. That's great. That's what you wanted, right? It's what I thought I wanted. And now? She stood up, started pacing. Now I don't know anything anymore. What don't you know? I don't know if I should take it. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what we're doing. She stopped pacing and looked at me. I don't know if I'm fooling myself thinking this could ever work. What do you mean? Avery, look around. Look at this place. Look at your life. She gestured at the expensive furniture, the art, the view. This isn't my world. It could be. Could it? Really? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Today I had lunch with some of my old co-workers. You know what they said when I told them where I was living? I didn't want to know, but I asked anyway. What? They said I was living in a fairy tale. That rich people don't just take in strays out of the goodness of their hearts, that there had to be an angle. There's no angle. I know that. But they don't. And neither will anyone else in your life. I don't care what other people think. You will. She sat back down, suddenly looking exhausted. Eventually, you'll get tired of explaining me. Tired of defending this. Tired of me. That's not true. Isn't it? When's the last time you introduced me to anyone from your world? When's the last time we went somewhere that your friends or colleagues might see us? I opened my mouth to argue and realized she was right. We'd been living in a bubble for 3 weeks. Just the two of us. I'd been protecting what we had, but maybe I'd also been hiding it. That's not because I'm ashamed of you, I said. Then what is it? It's because I'm selfish, because I want to keep you to myself, because the outside world is complicated and messy, and I like our world better. She smiled sadly. Our world isn't real, Avery. It feels real to me. It feels real to me too. That's the problem. I sat down next to her, close enough to touch but not quite touching. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe I should take the job. Is that what you want? I want to stop feeling like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I want to stop feeling like I'm playing house in someone else's life. This is your life, if you want it to be. She turned to look at me, and I saw tears in her eyes. Is it? Really? Because sometimes I feel like I'm just a guest here. A very welcome guest, but still a guest. What would make you feel like it was really your life? I don't know. Maybe if I felt like you actually wanted me here, not just needed me here. I do want you here. As what? A roommate? A friend? A project? The question hung between us, heavy with everything we'd been dancing around for weeks. As whatever you want to be, I said quietly. That's not an answer. Then ask me the real question. She took a shaky breath. Do you have feelings for me? Real feelings? Not just gratitude or loneliness or whatever this is? My heart was pounding so hard I was sure she could hear it. Yes. What kind of feelings? The kind that make me want to kiss you every morning when I see you in my kitchen. The kind that make me rush home from work just to see your face. The kind that make me want to introduce you to everyone I know as the woman who changed my life. She stared at me. Avery. The kind that make me want to ask you to stay not just for tonight or next week, but for as long as you'll have me. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more. I reached for her hands. Harper, I'm in love with you. She went very still. What? I'm in love with you. I think I have been since that first night in the cafe, but I was too scared to admit it. You can't be. Why not? Because we're too different. Because this is too fast. Because... She pulled her hands away. Because I'm in love with you too, and that terrifies me. The world stopped. You are? Of course I am. How could I not be? You're brilliant and kind, and you see the best in everything. You make me feel like I matter, like I'm worth something. Tears were streaming down her face now. But love isn't always enough, Avery. It is for me. And what happens when your board finds out you're dating a formerly homeless woman? What happens when the press gets hold of this story? What happens when... I kissed her. I couldn't help it. She was spiraling, talking herself out of us, and I couldn't let that happen. So I kissed her. Soft and desperate, and full of everything I couldn't find words for. She kissed me back. For a moment, everything else fell away. There was just us. Just this. Just the feeling of finally being exactly where I belonged. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. That wasn't fair, she whispered. I'm not feeling particularly fair right now. Avery. Stay. What? Don't take the job. Stay here. With me. I cupped her face in my hands. Move into my room. Let me introduce you to my friends. Let me take you to company events and board meetings and anywhere else you want to go. Let me show the world that you're mine and I'm yours. You're asking me to move in with you? I'm asking you to build a life with me, a real life. Not just playing house. She searched my face. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? What if your world rejects me? Then we'll build our own world, just like we talked about. She was quiet for a long moment, and I could see her weighing everything, calculating risks and possibilities. I'm scared, she said finally. So am I. Or what if I'm not enough for your world? What if my world isn't enough for you? That surprised her. What do you mean? I mean, maybe it's time I stopped trying to fit into a world that makes me miserable and started building one that makes me happy. With me? With you. She looked at me for what felt like forever. Then, so quietly, I almost missed it. Okay. Let's build our own world. She smiled through her tears. But I'm keeping the job. What? Not the old job. This job. The temp work. I like earning my own money, contributing something. You contribute everything. I contribute love. I want to contribute more than that. I kissed her again, softer this time. I love you. I love you too. So you'll stay? I'll stay. In my room? She laughed. In your room. Starting tonight? Starting tonight. And as I led her down the hallway to our bedroom, I felt like I was finally coming home. Waking up next to Harper was like discovering a new sense I didn't know I had. She was curled against my side, dark hair spread across my pillow, one hand resting on my chest. The morning light streaming through the windows made her skin glow, and I had to resist the urge to trace the line of her shoulder with my finger. We'd talked until almost 3 in the morning, lying in the dark and sharing stories we'd never told anyone else, about her mother's death and my father's emotional absence, about her dreams of making a difference, and my fear that I'd never matter to anyone, about the loneliness that had shaped us both in different ways, and then we'd fallen asleep holding each other. And for the first time in my adult life, I'd slept through the night without waking up once. "You're staring," Harper mumbled into my shoulder. "How do you know?" "Your eyes are closed. I can feel you staring. It's very intense." I laughed. "Sorry, I'm not used to this." Waking up with someone? Waking up happy. She lifted her head to look at me, hair falling in waves around her face. "Are you? Happy?" "Disgustingly so." She smiled and kissed my collarbone, and I felt that simple touch all the way to my toes. "What time is it?" she asked. I glanced at the clock and groaned. "Almost 10. Shit, I'm supposed to be at work in an hour. Call in sick." "I can't call in sick. I've only been there 3 weeks. Then quit. I'll support you." She sat up, giving me a look. "We talked about this." I know. You want to contribute. I reached for her hand. "I just want to spend the day in bed with you. We have the rest of our lives for that." The rest of our lives. The words sent a thrill through me that was equal parts excitement and terror. "Do we?" I asked. "Do we what?" "Have the rest of our lives?" She studied my face. "Are you having second thoughts?" "No. God, no. I sat up too, suddenly needing to see her properly. "I just want to make sure you're not, Avery. I moved into your bedroom last night. I think I'm pretty committed to this. But what if—" She kissed me, cutting off my spiral of anxiety. "Stop overthinking this. I can't help it. It's what I do." "I know. It's one of your less charming qualities. Thanks." She laughed. "Look, I'm scared too, okay? This is all new for me. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." "Really?" "Really." She got out of bed and started getting dressed, and I tried not to stare at the way the morning light played across her skin. "Now stop being neurotic and make me coffee while I get ready for work." "I don't know how to make coffee." "You'll learn. It's one of the essential life skills you've been missing." An hour later, I was standing in my kitchen in pajamas and a robe, holding a mug of what could generously be called coffee-flavored water, watching Harper get ready to leave for work. She was wearing one of her own dresses. She'd been slowly bringing her things over from the storage unit where she'd kept her few possessions, and she looked beautiful and professional, and completely at home in my space. Our space. "I'll be home around 6, she said, grabbing her purse and the lunch she'd packed. Home. She'd said home. "I'll cook dinner," I said. "You don't cook." "I'll learn. How hard can it be?" She kissed me goodbye, and I felt like a teenager with her first crush. Don't burn the building down. No promises. After she left, I stood in the kitchen for a long time, just absorbing the silence, but it wasn't the empty silence I was used to. It was the comfortable silence of a space that was lived in, loved in. There were 2 coffee mugs in the sink. Harper's book on the counter. Her jacket on the back of a chair, small signs that I wasn't alone anymore. I should have gone to work. I had 3 meetings scheduled and a presentation to finish, but instead, I found myself calling my assistant and telling her to reschedule everything. "Are you feeling all right, Ms. Dalton?" she asked, clearly concerned. I never called in sick, never rescheduled meetings. "I'm feeling perfect, actually," I said. "I just need a personal day." "A personal day?" "Yes, Sarah, a personal day. You know, when people take time off for personal reasons?" Yes, of course. Should I say you're ill?" "Just say I'm unavailable. And Sarah, clear my schedule for this weekend too." "The entire weekend?" "The entire weekend." There was a pause. "Ms. Dalton, are you sure you're feeling all right?" I laughed. "I'm feeling better than I have in years." After I hung up, I looked around the apartment with new eyes. Harper was right. It was beautiful, but it didn't feel like a home. It felt like a showroom. So I spent the day changing that. I moved furniture around, making the living room more comfortable and less formal. I bought groceries. Actual groceries, not just the protein bars and green juice I usually lived on. I even bought flowers for the kitchen table. And I tried to cook dinner. The keyword being tried. By the time Harper got home, the kitchen looked like a war zone, and the smoke alarm had gone off twice. "What happened in here?" she asked, surveying the damage. I attempted chicken parmesan. Attempted being the operative word. The chicken is, well, it's definitely cooked, possibly overcooked. The parmesan caught fire, and I'm not entirely sure what happened to the pasta. She looked at the blackened pan on the stove, then at me, covered in flour, and looking defeated, and burst out laughing. "It's not funny," I protested. "It's hilarious. You're a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, and you've been defeated by chicken. I wanted to do something nice for you." Her expression softened. "You did do something nice. You tried." She kissed my flour-covered cheek. "But next time, maybe we start with something simpler. Like toast." "I can make toast." "Can you?" "Okay, fine. I can operate a toaster." We ordered pizza instead and ate it sitting on the floor of the living room, backs against the couch, talking about our days. Harper told me about her coworkers and the project she was working on. I told her about the meetings I'd skipped and how strange it felt to take a day off. "You rearranged the furniture," she observed. "Do you like it?" "I love it. It feels more..." She looked around, searching for the word. "Like a home?" "Yeah. Like a home." Later, we were lying in bed, Harper's head on my chest, when she said quietly, "I called my old boss today." My heart stopped. "And?" I told her I couldn't take the job. "Why?" "Because I realized something today. When I was at work, all I could think about was coming home to you. Not just to your apartment, but to you. To this life we're building together." I tightened my arms around her. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. This temp job is fine for now, but I want to find something here. Something that matters to me, but doesn't take me away from us." "We could start a foundation," I said suddenly. "What?" "A foundation. For homeless youth, or housing assistance, or whatever cause matters to you. You could run it." She lifted her head to look at me. "Avery, that's crazy?" "Amazing. But I can't let you just create a job for me. I wouldn't be creating it for you. I'd be creating it with you. There's a difference." She was quiet for a moment. "You'd really do that?" "Harper, I'd do anything to make you happy. But more than that, I think it's something the world needs. Something I should have been doing with my money all along." "You really mean that?" "I really do." She kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of promise. "I love you." "I love you too." "Avery?" "Yeah?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me. For choosing me. For making me believe that I deserve this. You deserve everything. So do you." As I drifted off to sleep that night, Harper warm and solid beside me, I thought about how much my life had changed in just a month. 4 weeks ago, I was sleepwalking through my days, successful but empty. Now I was awake, alive, building something real, with someone who saw me for who I really was. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving, I was living. And it was beautiful. 6 months later, I was standing in front of my bathroom mirror, trying to work up the courage to walk into my own living room. Tonight was the launch party for the Harper Lane Foundation for Youth Housing, named after the woman who'd inspired it, much to her embarrassment and my insistence. The apartment was full of Seattle's elite, people I'd known for years but never really connected with. People who were about to meet the woman I loved. "You're stalling," Harper said, appearing in the doorway. She was wearing a simple black dress that somehow made her look more elegant than all my designer gowns combined. "I'm not stalling. I'm preparing." "For what?" "They're going to love you." "They're going to love you," I corrected. "I'm worried about what they'll think of us." She moved closer, straightening my necklace with gentle fingers. "Does it matter what they think? It shouldn't. But it does." "A little," I admitted. "These people, their opinion affects my business, my reputation, and you're worried that being with me will hurt that." "No." I turned to face her fully. "I'm worried that their reaction will hurt you." She smiled. "Avery, I've been homeless. I've been invisible, dismissed, treated like I don't matter. Whatever they say tonight can't be worse than that. But you matter to me, and if they can't see how incredible you are, then they're idiots, and we don't need them in our lives. She cupped my face in her hands, but I think you might be surprised. People can be better than you expect them to be. When did you become the optimist in this relationship? When I fell in love with someone who makes me believe in happy endings. I kissed her then, not caring if it messed up our lipstick. Ready? Ready. We walked into the living room together, and I felt the subtle shift in energy as people noticed us. Conversations paused. Eyes tracked our movement. I could practically hear the mental calculations happening. Avery! My assistant Sarah approached with a bright smile. The turnout is incredible, and the Times photographer is here. They want to do a feature on the foundation. That's wonderful. Sarah, I'd like you to meet Harper Lane, the foundation's director. Sarah's smile faltered for just a moment. She clearly hadn't expected Harper to be so young, or so beautiful, or so obviously important to me, but she recovered quickly. Ms. Lane, it's such a pleasure. I've heard wonderful things about your vision for the foundation. Thank you, Harper said graciously. I'm excited to get started. As Sarah walked away, I caught her glancing back at us with curiosity rather than judgment. Maybe Harper was right. Maybe people could surprise you. The next few hours were a blur of introductions and conversations. I watched Harper work the room with natural grace, talking passionately about the foundation's mission, sharing statistics about youth homelessness, connecting with donors on a personal level. She was magnificent. She's not what I expected, said a voice behind me. I turned to find Margaret Chen, one of my oldest board members, holding a glass of wine and studying Harper with interest. What did you expect? I asked carefully. Someone who needed saving, I suppose. But she's clearly the one doing the saving. What do you mean? Margaret smiled. Avery, I've known you for 8 years. I've never seen you look at anyone the way you look at her. And I've certainly never seen you this present. Present? Usually at these events you're checking your phone, thinking about work, going through the motions. Tonight you're actually here, engaged, happy. She paused. It's a good look on you. Before I could respond, Harper appeared at my side, slipping her hand into mine like it was the most natural thing in the world. Margaret, I was hoping to talk to you about the mentorship program, Harper said. Avery mentioned you have experience with youth development. As they talked, I felt something settle in my chest. This was working. We were working. Excuse me, are you Avery Dalton? I turned to find a young woman, maybe 22, with nervous eyes and a press badge. I am. I'm Jessica from the Seattle Times. I was hoping to ask you a few questions about the foundation. Of course. This is quite a departure from your usual philanthropic efforts. What inspired you to focus on youth homelessness? I glanced at Harper, who was still deep in conversation with Margaret. I met someone who opened my eyes to the reality of the crisis. Someone who showed me that homelessness isn't a character flaw or a choice. It's a systemic failure that we have the power to address. And that someone is Harper Lane? Yes. Can you tell me about your relationship with Ms. Lane? Here it was. The moment I'd been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. Harper is the most remarkable person I've ever met, I said clearly. She's brilliant, compassionate, and completely committed to making a difference in the world. She's also the woman I love. The reporter's eyes widened slightly. So, this is both a professional and personal partnership? It's a life partnership, I said firmly. The foundation is just one part of that. How did you meet? I looked across the room at Harper, who was now talking animatedly with a group of potential donors. Her whole face lit up with passion for the work. She was sitting in a doorway on Pine Street on a rainy night, and I was walking by feeling sorry for myself. She looked at me like I mattered, and I realized I wanted to matter to her. That's quite a story. It's our story. Later, after the last guest had left and we'd cleaned up the remnants of the party, Harper and I sat on the couch with glasses of wine, her feet in my lap. That went well, she said. Better than well. You were incredible tonight. We were incredible tonight. She smiled. Did you see Margaret's face when I told her about the job training program? I think we have our first major donor. I think we have our first major board member. Really? She asked if she could be involved, said it was the most excited she'd been about a project in years. Harper grinned. I told you people could surprise you. You were right. About a lot of things. Such as? Such as the fact that love is enough. That we could build something real together. That I could be happy. She set down her wine and moved closer, curling up against my side. Are you? Happy? Disgustingly so. Good. Because I have something to tell you. My heart skipped. What? I got a call today. From the mayor's office. They want to discuss expanding the foundation's work citywide, making it a model for other cities. Harper, that's incredible. It means more work, more travel, more time away from home. So I wanted to make sure you're okay with that. With me having a career that might sometimes take priority over us. I looked at her. This woman who'd transformed my life in every possible way and felt my heart overflow with love and pride. Harper, 6 months ago I was a workaholic who'd never been in love. You taught me how to live, how to love, how to be human. Now you're going to change the world, and I get to watch you do it. I kissed the top of her head. I'm not just okay with it. I'm honored to be along for the ride. Even if it means sharing me with the world needs you. But at the end of the day, you come home to me, always. Then we're good. She was quiet for a moment, then, Avery, yeah? Thank you. For what now? For seeing me that night, for taking a chance on us, for giving me a home. Thank you for saving me. I didn't save you. Yes, you did. You saved me from a life that looked successful from the outside but was empty on the inside. You saved me from myself. She lifted her head to look at me. We saved each other. Yeah, I said, kissing her softly. We did. A year later, I was standing in the same spot where I'd first seen Harper, outside the cafe on Pine Street. But this time, I wasn't alone and rushing through the rain. This time, Harper was beside me, and we were watching the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the first Harper Lane Foundation housing facility. 50 young people would have safe, stable housing tonight because of the woman I loved. Because of the foundation we'd built together. Because sometimes the most broken people find each other and create something beautiful. Any regrets? Harper asked, squeezing my hand. I looked at her, my partner, my love, my home, and smiled. Not a single one. And as we walked into our future together, I knew that the best was yet to come. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and let me know in the comments what love story you'd like to see next. Sometimes the most beautiful families are the ones we choose, and sometimes home isn't a place. It's a person.